Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. As always, I'm Bryson Carver. Oh, I can't wait for today's show. I cannot wait for today's show. Got NBA free agency talk. Lakers going to lead off the show with that. Chicago Bulls made a lot of moves. So did the Miami Heat. Going to talk a little bit more about the Bulls, though. NFL is back tonight. We got football. It's the Hall of Fame game. I get it, but I'll take it. It's the appetizer to the main course. Okay, we got some preseason games starting tonight with the Hall of Fame game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and my Dallas Cowboys. Also going into the show, we got the Joe Burrow. Now, Joe Burrow, according to multiple reports, is not looking so great at practice right now. So that's going to be a really interesting story to follow if you're a Bengals fan or if you're an NFL fan, and if you want Joe Burrow to stay upright this season. Going to get into that later in the show, as well as Team USA beat Australia. They are advancing to the gold medal game for a rematch against the team that beat them in their first Olympic game, and that is France, who beat Slovenia and Luka Doncic by a single point. It was a crazy finish to that basketball game this morning. So a lot to get into today. Let's start with the purple and gold, the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, LA has gone crazy in free agency, right? They've been getting veteran after veteran after veteran. They've been getting multiple dudes that have been on some really good teams, on some championship contending teams. They brought back some old Lakers. They brought back some pretty good dudes. All right. How do I say this? The Lakers went backwards. The biggest problem with the Los Angeles Lakers is, what have I said on the show, and what do we all kind of know about championship teams, is that you got your superstars, and then you've got your mix of young players and veterans. The Lakers now are the oldest team in NBA history. Let me go back to the last 10 NBA champions, going back to the 2012 Heat, LeBron's first title. Ironically, last 10 NBA champions, let me give you the average age. 29, 29, 29, 27, 30, 28, 29, 28, 29, 28. The Lakers' average age is 32. Okay, they're old. When you look at some of the guys they signed, let's start with probably the biggest one. The biggest free agent signing, the one that Lakers fans and NBA fans, some are just jumping for joy about, is Carmelo Anthony. Now, Melo can still play. There's no question about it. Dude could still ball. He's not prime Melo. He's 37. He's not going to be prime Melo. In a system that the Lakers have, I already told everybody out there, Russell Westbrook is an awful fit with the Lakers. He's ball dominant. LeBron's ball dominant. Neither are good playing off the basketball. And so that's just going to work. And so now you got Carmelo Anthony out there, whether he starts or not. Probably be better for him to come off the bench now that I think about it. But if you got Carmelo in the starting lineup with LeBron, who controls the ball a lot, Westbrook, who does the same, how many shots is Melo going to get? Is he going to be a catch and shoot guy? Is he at his best when he's doing that? I don't know. This works if Westbrook isn't there. This is why I hated the Westbrook trade, but I talked about that last week. Let me get into the other free agent signings. 36-year-old Trevor Ariza. Are you talking about the same Trevor Ariza who just 3 years ago, when he was 33, when he was still like at the end of his prime, 3 years ago in a Game 7 with the Houston Rockets against my Warriors, Trevor Ariza scored the same amount of points you and I did. Didn't make a shot. And so now 3 years later, he's going to be the savior wing off the bench. All right, let's go to Dwight Howard. I like the Dwight Howard fit. But again, he's 35. He was a backup guard to Joel Embiid. And to his credit, played well when Joel was out. But are you telling me now he's going to go into the starting center role, which was not where he was at for majority of the Lakers title run a year ago. Wayne Ellington. Is this what we're doing now? That's where the Lakers are going. Kent Bazemore. Now, Kent Bazemore played with my Warriors last season, and I like Kent. He's good friends with Steph Curry. He's a good dude. He's a nice player. Let me go ahead and warn Lakers fans out there right now. I'll go ahead and warn you early. Kent Bazemore is going to drive you guys crazy. He's going to drive you guys nuts. Because as a Warriors fan, man, I watch every dribble of every game. That dude got wide open looks all season long. And every time he shot it, you always just thought, well, this is going to be a brick. This is going to be short. The occasional air ball. So I'll just go and warn you, Lakers fans, you ain't going to like Kent Bazemore. Okay? Kendrick Nunn. Is this the same Kendrick Nunn that on a Heat team whose best player is Jimmy Butler? And I like Jimmy. I do. But again, that was their best player. Is this the same Kendrick Nunn who got multiple DNPs, did not play in multiple playoff games in the Heat run? That's the same dude who's going to come in and be your backup point guard? Really? And Malik Monk. Now, I will defend the Malik Monk. I like Malik Monk. Okay, Charlotte let him go. Not sure why. Maybe he was asking for too much money, although the Lakers didn't spend too much to bring him back, or not to bring him back, to bring him in the organization. But he can shoot. He's young. He's a decent guard. He was really good at Kentucky. I mean, he's a lights-out three-point shooter. I like the Malik Monk is the only move where I'm like, okay, yeah, that works. That really works. He's a catch-and-shoot guy. LeBron loves shooters. Westbrook loves shooters. Every other move, maybe aside from Dwight Howard, I like the Dwight Howard move, don't love it. Every other move to me is terrible. Because when you got multiple guys, Melo, he's decent off the ball, but will he want that role of being a catch and shoot guy? Maybe at this stage in his career. Trevor Ariza, really? As streaky a shooter as you'll find, and not the defender he used to be. Wayne Ellington, is really? Kent Bazemore, like I said, is going to drive y'all crazy. Okay, Kendrick Nunn. Same guy who got multiple DNPs during the playoffs. And by the way, this is not with a bad coach. Eric Spoelstra, we all know, is one of the best coaches in all of basketball. And he'd sit Kendrick Nunn multiple big playoff games because he couldn't trust him. He's not a great shooter. He's more of an ISO guard. He's not a true point. He's kind of a little bit like the guy you let go, Dennis Schroeder, except at least Dennis Schroeder can play defense. Kendrick Nunn's a terrible defender. Malik Monk, I like that one. I like the Malik Monk move. This, to me, makes zero sense. Again, the oldest LeBron team to win a championship was the 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers. The average age of the players on that team was 30. Okay? And in the last 10 years, that's the oldest team to win a championship is the 2016 Cavs. The Lakers are, on average, 33. That doesn't win a championship. We know this as fans. Executives know this. The best way to win a championship, you got to have some superstars. They've got that. Lakers have that. LeBron's a superstar. AD's a superstar. I think Westbrook is one of the best stars in the league. You can't be a superstar when you won one playoff series in 5 years. I'm sorry. But you got to have your superstars and your good mix of young and old players. You got old guys. I should have said veterans, by the way. Veterans and young guys. They've got old players. Melo? Ariza? Come on. This, my friends, just reeks of desperation. Something else as well. Let me show you something that LeBron tweeted yesterday. Okay? Sorry for the podcast audience. I'll read it for y'all. The streaming audience can see it. LeBron James yesterday, quote, "Keep talking about my squad, our personal ages, the way he plays, he stays injured. We're past our time in this league, etc., etc., etc. Do me one favor, please, and I mean please. Keep that same narrative energy when it begins. That's all I ask. Hashtag thank you. LeBron deleted that tweet. And I love LeBron. He's the second greatest player to ever touch a basketball. But he deleted that tweet. Why? Who knows? Ask LeBron. I don't know. But are you telling me this is going to win a championship? When out west, you've got Golden State, who's got the perfect mix. You've got a superstar in Steph, a star in Clay, and one of the best role players in basketball in Draymond. You've got amazing role players, young and veteran. I don't get it. For the life of me, I don't get it. I have a few comments here from my man John Rivera, fan podcast. Shout out to him. He says they will be okay. He also says Bron is still the best player in the league and is 36. I love LeBron, like I said, but I did my top 15 rankings at the end of the show yesterday. For those of you out there that want to see my top 15 players of the league, feel free to go watch about the last 25 minutes or so of Monday's show on YouTube. And while you're there, subscribe while you're at it. I had LeBron at 4 because what Giannis did in these playoffs was legendary. Like that stuff will go down in history. That stuff, like you'll remember the time when you saw Giannis drop 50 in a closeout game against the Suns, and that whole series he was unbelievable. The playoffs he was great. I had KD at 2 because Giannis beat him in his own court, and I love KD. But Giannis never had it near the supporting cast that KD did. KD had Steph, Clay, Draymond, Iguodala, Livingston's a good role player, Steve Kerr's the head coach. I mean, it's ridiculous. Giannis had Middleton, Holiday, and then some good role players, but Giannis is the only guy on that Bucks team that we're like, yeah, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's got 2 MVPs, he's a champion, he's a defensive player of the year. Giannis one day is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But the rest of the guys, I don't know. I had Steph at 3 because, listen, are you telling me LeBron could have done this year what Steph did? Averaging 32 on a team that when he was not on the floor was the 7th worst offense in NBA history? I don't know about that. A few more comments from John. He says 4. He's got the mind blown emoji. Listen, he's still top 5, and I think he's gonna put up an MVP campaign this season. He's gonna be healthier. His body's much more well rested than it was last offseason when he only had 71 days. LeBron's going to be just fine. He says, John, in reference to the tweet I just put up there, he said he was talking to you, LOL. And he says, Lakers 4-1 over Golden State if healthy. Listen, Golden State without Klay Thompson, James Wiseman, and a very good shooting role player, Damian Lee, it came down to a LeBron 30-footer to beat us in the play-in game. I'm just saying. Get Klay back. You're talking about a team that is the most lethal shooting duo the game has ever seen. And so when I look at this, what the Lakers did in free agency, it reeks of desperation, and as far as fit, makes no sense. No sense. Let's talk about Team USA. Here we go. After some out there question, would we even medal? After I question whether we win gold, if this will be just like the 2004 team. Here we are in the gold medal game in a rematch against France. And I'll get into that in just a second. But Team USA, since that loss to France, has looked like far and away the best team. Okay, yesterday, you see the final score down there. Team USA defeats Australia 97-78. But what people may forget, and I watched this game, didn't get a ton of sleep because of it. Team USA was down 3 at halftime. In the third quarter, they outscored Australia 32-10. And so, offensively, listen, Team USA is stacked offensively. I mean, you had KD, who dropped 23 points. You had Devin Booker, who had an unbelievable game himself. He had 20. Okay, you look at, Chris Middleton off the bench was efficient and scored 11. We've got scores. There's no question about that. My concern was we don't have a big man. I mean, if you count JaVale McGee and his only minutes, his 2 minutes came in garbage time, and he went 2 for 2, so good for JaVale. But the thing with Team USA is I'm like, where's their big man? Because against France, and again, I'll get into this, they got crushed on the offensive boards. But defensively, in another area where I worried about them, we talk about team defense, because when you have guys in this team, look, KD can be a great defender in spurts, but he's not consistently that. But Devin Booker, not a great defender. Drew Holiday is. Damian Lillard's not. Tatum's not. Okay, Chris Middleton, good, not great. So you got to play team defense. And to Pop's credit, and I've been very critical of Pop in the last couple of runs in the FIBA tournament 2 years ago, and then in the Olympics right now, I've been very critical of Greg Popovich, but he's got them dudes playing defense. There's no question about it. And so the way they turned it on defensively in the second half, down 3 to up 16, up 19, going into the fourth quarter. Listen, man, that's special. And so now talking about the gold medal game, which, if I'm not mistaken, tips off tomorrow. I think the game tips off at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a late game, not as late as last night and the other games that Team USA's played, but they're going to play France. I watched the game this morning. Got up early to watch to watch France play Slovenia, in large part because I'm like, man, if Luka Doncic carries Slovenia to the gold medal game, I'm going to fall out of my chair. And they came up 1 point short. Luka got hurt, and again, Slovenia made a valiant rally at the end, but just fell short to the French on a great Nicolas Batum block. And I wish Nicolas Batum signed with my Warriors. He stayed with the Clippers, but he made a great block at the end of the game. I'm going to take Team USA to beat France tomorrow in the gold medal game, win their 4th straight gold medal. Worst case, they'll finish silver, but when you have the team we have, anything other than gold is not an option. It's just not. Are we the overwhelming favorite like we were in 2008? Or definitely, to me, 2012 was better than the Dream Team. I mean, 2012 was unbelievable. You had LeBron and Kobe and Kevin Durant and Westbrook and Harden and Kevin Love in his prime. And I mean, that team, Anthony Davis, a young Anthony Davis, that team was just stacked. Andre Iguodala, it was unbelievable. But are we the overwhelming favorites we were then? Absolutely not. Even 2016, we pretty much blew through the whole tournament, save for one game. But do we still have the best team? No question. I'm very, very interested, especially in the opening minutes, and really as the game wears on, as dudes get more and more tired. I'm really interested to see who wins the offensive boards. Right? What's the ratio in Team USA defensive rebounds and France offensive rebounds? Because Rudy Gobert ate us alive in that first game. Nick Batum did the same. Evan Fournier has been a great scorer for them. So France is no pushover. But something that Team USA can look at is in the fourth quarter, I believe they went down 6 in the fourth quarter. They went into the fourth quarter down by 6 points. And they went up like 7 points or something. And we're just shutting down France until they made like a 13-0 run to take the lead and to ultimately win the game. But we had our spurts in that game where we were both ends of the basketball, both ends of the court, dominating them. And so if we could put that together more consistently than we did a couple of weeks ago for 40 minutes, we'll be fine. Because we've got the better team on paper. There's no question about that. Their best player is arguably either Evan Fournier or Rudy Gobert. I would say Rudy Gobert. And our best player is Kevin Durant. I mean, there's levels, right? Their second best player is Evan Fournier. Our second best player is Damian Lillard. KD and Dame on my list were 2 top 5 players. So, I mean, that's kind of where it's at. John Rivera says, payback game. There we go. I hope. And I think it's going to happen. I'm going to predict the final score. I'm going to go Team USA wins 87-77. They win by double digits. I have not seen the line. If I can pull up the line, that'd be great to see, for those of you that, for those of you that bet sports. I don't think they had the line out yet for the gold medal game. No, doesn't look like it. I'm assuming it's going to be around 10. I've got Team USA winning by 10, 87-77, and taking gold for the fourth straight time and making the US of A very proud once again, just like they did in 08, 12, 16, and now 20, or although it is 21. It's 2021. The Tokyo Olympics count for 20, obviously. John Rivera says, I agree, they win by 10. There you go. I like where Team USA's at. Against, they destroyed Iran. They ran through Czech Republic. Spain, outside of Ricky Rubio, nobody for Spain got going. That's like the best game Ricky Rubio's ever played as a professional. That was unbelievable. But listen, I like where we are, and let's go win gold, baby. Let's go get it. Shifting now to the NFL, Joe Burrow. Now, Joe Burrow is a guy that in 2020, last year, going into the draft, I said, I like him, but there's no way I'd take him with the number 1 pick. Because arm strength, average. Accuracy was really good. Ability to move around, it came and went. And, people forget the year before he won the Heisman and had what I acknowledged at the time and acknowledged to this day was the greatest season a college quarterback has ever had. No question. The year before that, he was kind of average. In some games, below average. And then in 2019, again, he was unbelievable. But one of the things I said is he's not going to live up to being the number 1 pick because he's going to Cincinnati. And what's in Cincinnati? A bad offensive line. So bad that Joe Burrow was sacked 32 times in just 10 games. He was on pace, I believe, to break David Carr. Remember David Carr's rookie year in 2002 with the Houston Texans? When he was sacked more times than any quarterback in NFL history in a single season? Joe Burrow was threatening that record until he suffered a gruesome knee injury against Washington mid-season. But even in that game, I remember a play when Joe Burrow was like a 4th and goal. He was running to try and score and just got clocked by, it might have been Chase Young who hit him. I can't remember. It was a Washington football team player that just, decked him. And so when I looked at Joe Burrow, I said, I don't think it's going to work out for him. And here's reports you see on the bottom of the screen. He has been struggling at Bengals practice. Some of it, if you watch any tape of Joe Burrow from training camp, he's got a big knee brace on. And so he's going to have to overcome that mental hurdle of getting back out in the football field. Right? Like Derrick Rose had to overcome it and unfortunately never truly could because of, how bad the injury was. He had to overcome that getting back out and playing basketball. And in the case of Joe Burrow, he's going to have to overcome that same hurdle. Although, unlike Derrick Rose, he's getting hit, And so this is why I ripped the Bengals for their draft pick of Jamar Chase. Now, to be clear, Jamar Chase, I think is going to be an excellent receiver in the NFL. I really do. And I get it. Joe Burrow, according to reports at the time, pushed the Bengals to draft Jamar Chase. I get it. But, the LSU connection. But even as good as the Bengals receiving core is, you've also got Tyler Boyd. You've got some really good receivers on this Cincinnati team. T. Higgins as well. But it doesn't mean a thing if Joe Burrow can't stay upright to throw to the receivers. I said on a draft show with my man Ryan Flowers, Clutch Sports Talk, check his show out. I said on his draft show, they had to take Penei Sewell, who was far and away the best offensive lineman in the draft, in a draft that had some really good linemen. mean, Penei Sewell is a freak of nature. And as bad as the Lions are going to be, he'll be one of their only bright spots. He is unbelievable. Okay? So when I see the Bengals right now, and I'll even look at their schedule because they play some ridiculous defensive lines. Minnesota, decent defensive line. Chicago, great line. Pittsburgh, great line. Jacksonville, no. Green Bay, no. Detroit, no. Baltimore, great defensive line. Jets have upgraded defensive line. Cleveland, monster defensive line. Joe Burrow's got to play them twice. He's going to have all sorts of problems. Oakland, no. Pittsburgh again, obviously. Chargers, amazing defensive line. Joey Bosa, right? San Francisco, when that line's healthy, it's the best in football. Nick Bosa, right? Guys like that. I mean, that line is just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. They gave Patrick Mahomes fits in the Super Bowl just a year and a half ago. Denver's defensive line, Bradley Chubb, Von Miller, is going to give Joe Burrow problems if he's even healthy at this point. And Kansas City's defensive line, Frank Clark, Chris Jones. And boy, I hope this doesn't happen. But this could be another season where Joe Burrow is not available in Week 18. This year it's Week 18, not 17, because there's 17 games. Joe Burrow may not be even available to play the final week or so of the season. So this is, to me, really concerning. And this is why I said before the draft, Joe, pull the Eli Manning, pull the John Elway. Don't go to Cincinnati. I get it, it's your hometown. This will be the end of your career. And he showed last year he can play. But so many times, because the line is so bad, he'd have to throw. I remember one game against the Browns, he threw the ball like 62 times or something crazy in his second ever start. And still was very effective, made plays, was fairly, he had his share of bad interceptions. Every rookie has that. But he made good decisions for the most part, at least what you'd expect from a rookie. And he was just getting hit constantly, and people forget, like, that knee injury wasn't just like a torn ACL done for the year. No, it was like torn ACL, MCL. I think it shattered some bones. I mean, it was bad. It was some serious stuff that Joe Burrow was dealing with. So I didn't get why the Bengals didn't select Penei Sewell in the draft. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. But what more do you expect from the Cincinnati Bengals? It's the same franchise that Carson Palmer retired from just to get away from them. Carson Palmer's like, okay, if they won't let me go, I'm just going to retire. And then he ended up going to the Raiders. A year later, went to the Cardinals, where he had a couple of really good seasons with Bruce Arians. They messed up Carson Palmer's career. Boomer Esiason. Cincinnati's has some very talented quarterbacks, and they've done a horrible job of helping them out. And in the AFC North, where AFC North is probably the most physical division of football. To me, it's the second toughest division of football behind the NFC West. But you've got Pittsburgh, great defensive line. Cleveland, great defensive line. Baltimore, great defensive line. So it's no joke. And so when you got to play those teams a combined 6 times, I feel bad for Joe Burrow for some of the hits he's going to take this year. Coming off of a bad knee injury. I mean, what the draft showed me 3.5 months ago is that Cincinnati just don't get it. They don't get it. Because they're making the exact same mistake, and I'm not saying Joe Burrow is as talented as the guy I'm about to mention, because I don't think he is. But they're making the same exact mistake that the Indianapolis Colts made with Andrew Luck. What did the Colts do when they drafted Andrew Luck? They got receivers everywhere to put around Andrew Luck, but Andrew Luck couldn't get the ball to those guys because he was getting hit constantly. He played one game in 2015 against Denver. I remember watching it with a lacerated kidney. And so by the time the Colts finally got a new general manager, in Chris Ballard, new head coach, and just rebuilt their offensive line into arguably at that time the best in football. The hits have taken their toll, and Andrew Luck retired. And so they lost an all-time talent in Andrew Luck because they refused for years under the old management to protect him and surround him with some big dudes to make sure that he doesn't get hit. Bengals are making the exact same mistake as the Colts did. Doesn't make it makes it, I don't get it. I don't get it whatsoever. And again, I feel bad for Joe. He's struggling. Yeah, most quarterbacks have struggled. So that's where they are right now. Okay, let's get back to the NBA for a little bit. There was more free agency. You had the Miami Heat being really aggressive, going out and get Kyle Lowry. They got PJ Tucker. They re-signed Duncan Robinson. Huge deal for Duncan Robinson, but hey, get your money, young fella. But another team that made, a lot of big splashes was the Chicago Bulls. They went out and got Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, and the big one, DeMar DeRozan. I think the Bulls, if healthy, are a lock playoff team in the East. Lock. Absolutely. You're talking about a team that's got DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, who was an all-star. You got some scores on that team. You got Alex Caruso come off the bench. That's a really good lineup that you have if you're the Bulls. Billy Donovan, to me, is an excellent head coach. Excellent. We saw what he was doing in Oklahoma City. He was great. You know what? I won't go great. He was really good. He's a very good head coach. But I'm starting to hear are the Bulls title contenders? Guys, slow down. And I know I've got a Bulls fan right here in John, who, obviously loves his team. But contenders? I don't even care if it's the Eastern Conference. When I look out east, first of all, I get the Bulls had a lot of injuries. Zach LaVine got hurt, missed time, and then right after got COVID and missed time. That obviously hurt the Bulls. And by the time they had traded for Nikola Vucevic, they were just fighting to be in the play-in tournament. So I get that. But when I look at the Eastern Conference right now, are they better than Brooklyn? Nobody thinks they're better than Brooklyn. Are they better than the team that just hoisted the Larry O'Brien trophy 3 weeks ago? The Milwaukee Bucks? No, they're not better than Milwaukee. Philadelphia, with or without Ben Simmons? They're not better than Philly. Miami? I don't even think they're better than Miami. Heat had a down year, just like the Lakers, coming off that bubble. No rest in the offseason. The Heat are going to be better. Are they championship contenders? Doubt it. But are they going to be formidable in the East? No doubt. You don't want to play the Heat in a playoff series. And so now the arguments come down to Atlanta. They added John Collins. They re-signed Trae Young to a massive deal, and well-deserved, by the way. And Trae Young, I love that kid. Showed me a lot of things these playoffs. Okay, you got Clint Capella. You added a little bit of depth. They added I'm forgetting the point guard's name. I don't know. They drafted the guy out of Sharif Cooper. Sharif Cooper, very good backup point guard who slipped to them in the draft to Trae Young. Atlanta did some good things. So that's kind of where the Bulls are right now. Atlanta, the Knicks, the Celtics. I think the Pacers are going to be better this year now that they got Rick Carlisle. Huge upgrade in coaching over what they had a year ago. Charlotte, I don't know. The Bulls are better than the Hornets, and they're obviously the Wizards are going to miss the playoffs this year. Kyle Kuzma and those guys are not. Spencer Dinwiddie's not getting you to the playoffs, even in the East. Maybe the play-in, but not the playoffs. But the Bulls are not title contenders. I'm sorry, and being the objective, fan that he is, John Rivera says, "No, I wouldn't go that far." But can play with anyone any given night. No question. No doubt about it. They 100% got better. When I say they won free agency, You can make that case. I'd probably say it was Miami, but I think the Bulls are in the top 3 in regards to free agency performance. John says 4th or 5th seed. Well, let's see. Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia will be top 3 seeds. I mean, those will most likely be the top 3 seeds in the Eastern Conference in whatever order you think. The Knicks, that's going to be a really interesting one because they brought everybody back and they added Kemba Walker. Now, can he stay healthy? That's always a question with Kemba Walker. We'll see. Atlanta, God, this is really interesting. Okay, Philly, Brooklyn, and Milwaukee are going to be the top 3 seeds. I like Miami better, so I'm going to put Miami as the 4th seed. And so y'all are going to be battling with the Knicks and the Hawks. So one of those 3 teams is going to be the play-in. Either it's, the Bulls, the Knicks, or Atlanta. If I had to choose off the top of my head, I would probably say the Knicks. Because when you look at what Atlanta did when Nate McMillan was promoted to interim head coach and now he is the full-time head coach, they got crazy hot and came 2 games of the NBA Finals. Wow. So props to the Hawks. They're going in the right direction with their new superstar in Trae Young. Adding John Collins, big deal. But hey, they needed John Collins the way he played last season, the way he's played in Atlanta. So I love what the Bulls did. You've got 2 guys who are former All-Stars in Nikola Vucevic and DeMar DeRozan. DeMar should have been an All-Star last year, in my opinion. But anyways, Zach LaVine, who is one of the top scorers in all of basketball last season. Alex Caruso, who's an excellent role player coming off the bench. Lonzo Ball, who I thought the Lakers should have went out and got. And to me, made a big mistake in not going out and getting. Like that's, you want to talk about true point guard. Lonzo Ball is the definition of point guard. He can shoot, right? He can score, but he's a pass-first guy. He's about getting other dudes involved. Him and Zion, lethal duo in New Orleans. So he'll find different ways to get the 2 scorers, the 2 guards. Of course, they're going to play DeMar at the 3 at the small forward position, but he can get DeMar good shots. He can definitely get Zach LaVine, especially his ability to shoot from long distance. He can get him good shots. And Nikola Vucevic, listen, get the big man involved, and he can shoot the 3 as well. So props to the Bulls for sure. Got it. Hold on. Let me remove this graphic here. I have another comment. I have a question actually from John. He says, "How do you feel about the Ben Simmons rumors to Golden State? Don't even bring that up." Let me go ahead and pull up because I don't have the graphic to put it on here. So according to Jason Dumas, he says that Simmons has cut off all communication with the 76ers. I've heard he's not texting with Joel Embiid. They never had the greatest relationship to begin with. I mean, Embiid and Simmons both tested positive for COVID, unfortunately, but they flew down to Atlanta for the All-Star game this year, and they didn't even fly together. Like, they really didn't jive at all. And so Ben Simmons has cut off all communication to the Sixers, and this makes my stomach turn, and is open to joining the Golden State Warriors. I had to say that quick. Bob Myers, you're probably not listening to this because you've got general manager things to do. But if you are listening to this or watching this, if you trade for Ben Simmons, it will be the biggest mistake in the history of the Golden State Warriors. This is an organization. I'm a Warriors fan. Okay, I know our history. This is an organization that had a 40-year drought between championships from 1975 to 2015. And so, obviously, in between that, there was bad coaches, there were draft busts. One player even strangled a head coach. It was dysfunction for a while. Even when they drafted Steph Curry in 2009, the best player on the team at that time, Monte Ellis, said, we can't play together. You can't put two small guys. Like, there was dysfunction within players in their relationships. But Golden State in their history has never been in a dynasty up until obviously, 15, 17, and 18, the three championships they've won. And I still think the window is wide open, long as Clay is Clay. But are you telling me, let's just say it's a straight up Andrew Wiggins for Ben Simmons trade? Andrew Wiggins to me right now is a way better fit in Golden State than Ben Simmons. Okay, he's an automatic 20 points a game. Automatic. And he was the second option offensively, obviously, to Steph. He averaged close to 20. He shot a career high from three. And with Clay coming back, he's going to get even more good looks. So he's going to improve even more from three. He improved his ability to score off the dribble. And his defense was unbelievable. I mean, in that play-in game against the Lakers, now, by LeBron standards, he shut down LeBron. Again, this is by LeBron standards. He didn't hold him like 10 points, but by LeBron standards, he was shut down by Andrew Wiggins. He got blocked by him. Wiggins forced some air balls. I mean, he's long. He can score. We don't need him to be the primary playmaker and decision maker. That's Draymond's job. And at times, that's Steph's job. That's why do you bring in Ben Simmons? He can't shoot. He clogs up the floor. You can't play him in the last 2 minutes. You've already got your playmaker and defensive monster in Draymond Green. Is Draymond Green as talented as Ben Simmons? Heck to the no. No. I mean, there's a reason Ben Simmons in 2016 was the first overall pick and Draymond in 2012 was the 35th pick. Talent, it's not even close. But as far as championship mentality, as far as getting better, actually improving, as far as basketball IQ, listen, there's not a whole lot of dudes in the NBA that have a better basketball IQ than Draymond Green. I'll give you LeBron, maybe Lonzo. That's outside of that, that's it. That I can think of off the top of my head currently playing. And so you're basically getting Draymond Green in Ben Simmons, but he doesn't care. He has the one hole in his game, and this is a shooter's league. Duncan Robinson just got $90 million. Duncan Robinson can't do anything but shoot. And that man got $90 million, right? It's a shooter's league. You're talking about the biggest hole in Ben Simmons' game is shooting. Yeah, that was the case when he came into the league. He hasn't improved that at all. The biggest hole in Lonzo's game in 2017, a year later, was shooting. He's a 40% shooter now from three. He got better. His jump shot doesn't look awkward. He got better. Ben Simmons hasn't. He refuses to shoot. He doesn't get better in the offseason at shooting the basketball. In what universe does this make sense as far as fit? As far as a guy who doesn't want it? I mean, I'll go by what a guy told me in a DM when the Sixers were ended up losing to the Hawks in the playoffs. This guy told me, and it's the perfect comparison. Ben Simmons is the Jay Cutler of the NBA. Jay Cutler had an unbelievable arm, ridiculous. Okay, he can move around a little bit. He was accurate, had all the talent in the world, but Jay Cutler just didn't give a you-know-what. In an NFC championship game, when the Bears with third-stringer Caleb Haney were fighting back, trying to claw their way and defeat their division rival Green Bay Packers to go to the Super Bowl, where's Jay Cutler? On the stationary bike with the most indifferent look on his face you've ever seen. He don't care. Ben Simmons does not care. He has that same Jay Cutler look about him. He refused to go play in the Olympics with Australia because he said he's going to improve his game in the offseason. As James Scott, shout out to him, Across the Pond Sports Podcast Network, he came on the show a few weeks ago, and he said it best. What better way to improve your game than to play actual basketball games? What better way to improve? At practice with your teammates. Joe Ingles, right? Patty Mills was a very good Australia team, and they would have absolutely gotten better had Ben Simmons joined them this summer for the Olympics. What's Ben Simmons going to do in the offseason? Is he really this? Is he this time, after 5 years, is he now going to improve his three-point shooting? Highly doubt it. So how do I feel about the Ben Simmons rumors to Golden State? Sick to my stomach. There's no way Bob Myers should even consider making this trade. Don't even, because you know Philadelphia is not going to trade Embiid, obviously. So if you get a call from the Philadelphia 76ers, don't answer it. Don't pick up the phone. Don't pick up the phone, Bob Myers. Please. Please don't do that to me and to all of Dub Nation. That would be, oh gosh, that'd be awful. Okay, let's shift back to the NFL. Final topic of the day, the Hall of Fame game. Obviously, we got two Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, 2020, who, didn't get their induction ceremony last year, obviously due to the pandemic. And this game was supposed to be played last year, but again, due to the pandemic, it did not. They get enshrined this weekend along with the 2021 class, which is enshrined on Sunday. So really looking forward to that. Some just iconic football names. Iconic football names are going in. You're talking about Troy Polamalu. You're talking about Bill Cowher, Jimmy Johnson, Megatron, Charles Woodson, and of course, probably the headliner, Peyton Manning. I mean, you've got some iconic NFL legends that are John Lynch that are going into the Hall. So congrats to every single one of them. They absolutely deserve it. And it should be interesting. I think even Joe Buck's going to the Hall of Fame too. So that should be interesting. But Pittsburgh Steelers, Dallas Cowboys are playing tonight. Obviously, it's a preseason game. And by the way, the first preseason game in 706 days, because there was obviously no preseason last year. Obviously, Dallas's starters won't play. I mean, Dallas is injured. I don't know if this is the case with Pittsburgh, but I follow the Cowboys more because I'm a Cowboy fan. But all of Dallas's injured players, including Dak Prescott, they're still in Oxnard, California. They didn't even make the trip, right? And so, I'm sure Micah Parsons, the first-round pick, will play. I'm sure on the Steelers side, Najee Harris, a draft pick, which I loved, by the way, because they needed a true number one running back, which I think Najee Harris is very capable of being, considering that offensive line that they have. So the question is, what are the expectations for Pittsburgh and Dallas? I'm not going to make my outright predictions now. I'm going to wait a month from now for my NFL kickoff show. This is the second time I've done this on Carving It Up, my NFL kickoff show where I predict all the teams' records, how the playoffs play out, who goes to the Super Bowl, who wins the Super Bowl, who wins all the regular season awards. I mean, loved doing it last year. Hope to get some good guests on during that show. And so, definitely looking forward to it without a doubt. I'll start with Pittsburgh. Again, not predicting records. I'll start with the Steelers. You're talking about a team that won the division last year. They started 11-0, but I said on the show, this is a fraudulent, undefeated team. They had no running game. Big Ben was really fizzling out. I mean, what was one of the things Big Ben was known for? Just slinging it, right? It was a lot last month and a half, 2 months of a season, a lot of dink and dunk. And by the way, he threw some bad interceptions last year as well. And for a guy that's 38, 39 years old, that can't happen. And so, they're 11-0, and they only win one game the rest of the season, and they go out in the wild card game against the division rival Cleveland Browns. I don't think Pittsburgh is, my gut feeling is they're not a playoff team. Even in a 7-team playoff in the AFC, I think Big Ben is older. I think, he's lost weight, right? We've seen the pictures at training camp, the before and afters, as we always see with these weight loss commercials. Big Ben's lost weight, clearly. But it kind of feels like too little, too late. Like Jay Glazer from Fox, great insider over there, he said it himself. Big Ben's off-season workout routine, regimen, schedule, whatever you want to call it, was, according to Jay, a little bit of yoga, like 2 yoga sessions per year, and that's about it. Like he didn't work in the offseason the way Brady did or does still to this day. By the way, happy birthday, Tom Brady, 44 years old. Late happy birthday from a few days ago. Peyton Manning, the way he grinded in the offseason, and Pat Mahomes now, and Russell Wilson without a question now. Like that's just not Big Ben. Never has been. And so I feel like at this stage of his career, it's kind of too little too late. Receiving core is good, but is Juju a true number one? No. I mean, Juju's best years to this point were when he was the number 2 to Antonio Brown. So, and obviously they got Chase Claypool. He also kind of fizzled out at the end of the year. Now, you can blame that on his quarterback, and that's totally fair. But Pittsburgh's not a good running team. They've got a great defense. They lost Bud Dupree in free agency, which was huge, but they replaced him with Melvin Ingram. That's a very, very good offseason move by a great front office in Pittsburgh. But I just look at this division. Cleveland is just stacked. I mean, my only question with the Browns is quarterback. That's it. You've got Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, best running back duo in the game. You've got an unbelievable offensive line. You've got a stacked receiving core. Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr. is coming back. Higgins. They've got the tight end Austin Hooper, I believe, is still there. They've got a great defense. They added 2 Rams. Now, why is that significant? They added 2 Rams. Well, the Rams were the number 1 defense in the league last year. They get Delpit from injury last year. They drafted him out of LSU, liked the kid a lot in, I think, the second round. He missed last year with a season-ending leg injury. He's back. Myles Garrett is arguably the best pass rusher, the best defensive end in football. So, I mean, Denzel Ward. I mean, the roster's stacked. Baltimore, roster stacked. Lamar Jackson, former unanimous MVP. Great offensive line, although I don't know, for the life of me, I don't know why they traded Orlando Brown to Kansas City. Don't get it, but they did. They still got a good offensive line, though. Okay? Still got a great running game. That's their bread and butter. Got good receivers. Hollywood Brown. Like, they've got some dudes who can play, and a great defense. Now, Cincinnati's the worst team in the division, there's no question, but do I see Pittsburgh competing with those 2 teams on top? I don't. Because quarterback play, even as many questions as I have about Baker, he played way better than Big Ben the last month of the season, and certainly outplayed him in the playoff game. You can look at Big Ben's passing yards all you want. They were down like 1,000 points. I mean, there's garbage time. And then Lamar, again, you're talking about a guy that won the MVP 2 years ago. A guy who year in year out gets better and better and better at his ability to throw the football with accuracy, which was his weakness coming into the NFL 3 years ago. So I just look at the Steelers right now. In that division, I don't think they make the playoffs. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. They're a great organization. Mike Tomlin is a great head coach who's never had a losing record ever in Pittsburgh. It's a championship organization. They've won 6 of them. But I just don't see it when you compare their roster to the others in Cleveland and Baltimore. I just don't see it. Now to Dallas, my Dallas Cowboys, you're talking about a team that gets Dak back. You're talking about that even with Andy Dalton, who's a good quarterback, but he's certainly not Dak Prescott. You're talking about a team that was still, when you look at the numbers, far and away the best offensive team in the division. And you say, well, but they have a bad defense. A lot of people like the Washington football team to win the division, but I'm like, Ryan Fitzpatrick? I mean, you say, well, we won with Alex Smith. Well, Alex Smith doesn't throw interceptions. Alex Smith was the perfect game manager. He's not going to make the big play, the big throw to win the game, but he's not going to cost you the game either. He's not going to make that dumb mistake that you're like, what the heck are you doing, Alex? Ryan Fitzpatrick makes a lot of those. Dolphins fans will tell you, Titans fans will tell you, Bills fans, Jets fans, Rams fans, Bengals fans. There's a reason he's been with 9 teams, including the Washington. The Giants, I don't know. Is Daniel Jones that guy? Daniel Jones has a bad case of the fumbles every year. And so when you look at Dallas's defense, they brought in Dan Quinn, and any reporter you ask in Dallas, or right now in Oxnard, California, which is where they hold training camp, defensive players bring up Dan Quinn without reporters even asking them. They love Dan Quinn. They didn't love Mike Nolan. Matter of fact, remember the report last year? And I crushed the Cowboys players for doing this, but remember the report last year from Jane Slater where Cowboys players were openly ripping, obviously anonymously, but they were ripping Mike McCarthy and Mike Nolan. That defense, especially, rush defense, was just, it was abysmal. It was hard to watch. So Dallas, the biggest weakness, defense. And by the way, Dallas had more injuries last year than any team in the National Football League, including their starting quarterback. And, albeit in a bad division, they came within a game of winning the NFC East. If they win either one of those games over Washington, Dallas is in the playoffs last year with all those injuries and with no Dak. So you get the Dak attack back. You get an Ezekiel Elliott who has transformed his body in the offseason, who we know, Zeke has said himself, I'm not a fumbler. He had a lot of fumbles last year, but in the previous year, 4 years before that, not an issue. So I love Dallas this season. John Rivera says, finished third in that division. I don't even know how that's even a possibility, to be completely frank with you, John, because they're not going to be as injured as last year. If they are, that'll just be unbelievable. I mean, to be in that case, they'd be the most hurt team in the NFL in 2021. I don't see that happening. But you get Dak back, get your leader, your elite quarterback back in the lineup. You get Ezekiel Elliott. Now, will he be the Zeke of 2016 or even 2018? I don't anticipate it. But will he be better than last year? I have no doubts. You get the healthy offensive line back, got the receivers. Oh, okay. John Rivera says he was talking about Pittsburgh. My bad, John. My bad. I agree with you, though. I agree with you. I think the Steelers are third in the division. But back to the Cowboys, I think they're Super Bowl contenders if the defense is average. Because when you look at the games in which Dak Prescott played, how many of the points did they score in the 5 games Dak played? Only 17 against the Rams. But after that, 40 against Atlanta, 31 against Seattle, 38 against the Cleveland, 37 against the Giants in the game that Dak got hurt in the third quarter. That is an offense that can score in any defense in the National Football League. So I'm not that high on Pittsburgh. I'm pretty high on Dallas this year. I like the Cowboys a lot. I think they do win the division, and we'll see where they go in the playoffs. So with that is all the time we have for tonight's show. Sorry, by the way, for the technical difficulties there in the beginning. It had a little bit of issues of getting me on. I apologize for that. We'll be a little bit better with that tomorrow. So hope everybody has a great evening. I'm going to be watching the Hall of Fame game tonight. Without a question, it kicks off at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on Fox. Dallas Cowboys, Pittsburgh Steelers should be interesting. And football, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's back. We got it back. We're almost there. We're almost back to real football, to regular season games, and to college football, by the way, as well. And high school football is not that far away either. So hope everybody's great evening. Catch Carving Up tomorrow, as always, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter. By the way, if you're on YouTube right now, be sure to like, comment, and share. Really helps the channel grow a lot. And also, hit that big red subscribe button, and so you can get alerts. Hit the notification bell as well, so you can get alerted every time we go live or post any videos. So stay safe out there. God bless you all. Peace out.